I call this meeting to order. Our opening ceremonies will be done by Mayor Matthew Hardman. Please stand. All right, will everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can all be seated. We'll now move on to roll call.
Mr. Powell.
Here.
Ms. Steele.
Here.
Here.
Sorry.
Ms. Harmon.
Here.
Mr. Ellerding.
Here.
And Ms. Martin. Here.
We will now move on to reports and communications. Mayor Matthew Hardman.
So for this, we're just kind of going to share a little bit about our day today. It was a wonderful experience. It was actually my second time getting to do it, which was great. My favorite part was just being able to see like the everyday activities of the fire department, the public works department, the police department, and just really being able to appreciate what they do. The fire department was training today, so it was cool to just see them in action.
My report is that today was a great day and that I enjoyed touring the police station. It was very interesting. Councilman Trevor?
I really enjoyed breakfast this morning, and I enjoyed going inside of a jail cell and getting my mugshot taken.
I enjoyed going to the rec center and getting hit with a wave of nostalgia of when I used to participate in various recreation activities such as basketball and summer camp from when I was younger. So it was nice to come back and see all the renovations they had done, as well as the old lobby.
I also enjoyed taking our mugshots and just being able to tour the facilities.
I definitely enjoyed the jail cell the most, but but I had a very great time, especially with the Public Works Department. It was really cool seeing what goes behind the development of Sharonville.
I enjoyed seeing everything, the behind the scenes of everything that we didn't know was going on.
Are there any residents that wish to be heard? Come forward and stand at the mic. No.
Hi. Oh, turn that on, would you? Who is this? On top. On top, yeah.
City Council. My name is Amy Goes Hardman, and I was wondering if there was a way to actually increase recycling, because we have so much going on. It would really be beneficial to have recycling weekly rather than bi-weekly. We have to sometimes borrow the neighbor's recycling bin. Sometimes I ask to do that, sometimes I don't. But needless to say, I would just like to put that out there for council to know that there might be some residents who could use an increased recycling. Thank you.
Anyone have a response to that? Mayor Hart? Remember, he runs the city.
Mayor Hardman?
So right now, actually, we are currently renegotiating our contract with Rumpke. So we can definitely consider moving it to a every week thing, but it's expensive, and we don't actually charge our. We learned this today. Actually, we don't charge for recycling or garbage in the city of Sharonville. So it would raise the prices for us. So we can consider it for sure, but we'll see how the negotiations go.
Good job. Anyone else?
Anyone else?
I was here last year and I brought up a problem that we're having in our neighborhood. And I just wanted to say thank you to the solution. We had an issue, I live on Wintergreen Court, and we couldn't see on pulling out of our street, and we requested a sign be put in place. It was put there. So I just wanted to say thank you to our city council, and I know that Councilmember at Large Martin is benefiting from this as well and can probably share how that's helped her in her new driving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right, move on. So you're gonna go to new business.
We're going on to new business.
She's gonna run it as we're talking.
Hello, today I am here to talk.
Do you do in council committees?
No.
Oh, you're not? Okay. All right. Okay. All right, new business. This is the first and only reading of Student Government Ordinance 2023-01, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for design and construction of a pedestrian bridge over Chester Road near Pat Mancuso Field.
Is there a motion for ordinance 2023-01?
Is there a motion? So, yeah. So, Ms. Trinity,
Ms. Trinity?
and second by Ms.
And second by Ms. Payton.
Is there any discussion?
Is there any discussion? Jaden?
I wanted to ask if the school had previously had a bridge as it was hit by a bus and that's why it was removed.
That is correct.
Any other discussion?
Any other discussion?
I would just like to point out that where the bridge would be placed, there's already a crosswalk with stoplights. So if you wanted to cross, you could just hit the button and wait a couple seconds, then cross.
Councilman Jaden?
The reason I believe this this bridge would be more incentive to us as students at Princeton High School instead of that crosswalk is down a hill. It's like as you're going down the road, you're hitting a hill before you get to that crosswalk, and people are speeding up through that hill. And having that crosswalk there would, if we move it up a little bit from the main parking lot where the students park to the athletic field, it would provide the students with a safer route straight to the athletic field, especially if they're carrying so many things and they're distracted by talking to their friends. It would be way safer. It would be way more convenient.
Councilman Jaden?
Going off of what Ms. Harmon was saying, I wanted to know how would the bridge exactly be implemented, because from what I recall, the last bridge had problems of it being slippery and it being dangerous in certain types of weather. So I was wondering if that would be another issue that would happen upon this bridge if we were to implement it as well.
Councilman Trinity?
If we consider adding a cover to this bridge, it would protect it from at least snow, and it would protect it from rain, so it would not ice as often.
What would the additional cost increase be if we added a cover to the bridge?
I don't have absolute data for that, but I predict it would be fairly expensive because we have to accommodate for ADA laws. We would have to add an elevator, possibly.
So the old bridge, the the reason we had the old bridge was because the high school was on the opposite side of the street of where the students would park. With the new building, we do not have that problem, so the only time we're really crossing the street is for athletic purposes. For every football game, that is probably the most students, most adults, most people we have crossing there. And every time I've gone to a football game, I have seen a police officer assisting the crosswalk. So I find a hard time because a bridge would be expensive. So a crosswalk does its job, I feel like. It would be quite expensive to build this bridge. So.
Okay. Would it be possible to offset the cost by advertising yearly on the bridge?
That's a good idea. Councilman Jaden.
Who would the advertising of the bridge fall under? Would it fall under the city's jurisdiction, or would it fall under the school's jurisdiction?
Councilman Trinity.
I believe this bridge could be used for advertising for Sharonville businesses. It could be used for advertising for Princeton school events like Friday Night Football, which is obviously very popular nowadays, especially now that we've won the GMC championships. It would be ultimately safer. I mean, ultimately cost, I don't know the word I'm looking for.
Anybody else?
Councilman Jaden.
What department would be taking on the construction and implementation of the bridge?
They would have to go through community development.
No, that's Trinity.
Councilman Jaden.
Would the cost be split between the city and the school?
We would have to work on it with the school district and come to some sort of compromise. Mayor.
What are our thoughts on like why we're doing this? Because it's the school's problem, and obviously we benefit from the school, but it's quite expensive. So.
Trinity.
Ultimately, we're doing this because of the safety of our students. Although it is the school's problem, we would hate to see something be done after an incident occurred. If a student were to get hit, then people would be more open to discussion about this bridge.
Jaden.
I would just like to know if there has been any incidents after the destruction of the old bridge. What I'm saying is, has there ever been any incidents where a student has gotten hit or has been in risk of getting hit by a bus or a car by passing through the sidewalk?
Trinity.
There haven't been any incidents reported, or at least from my research, but I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Anyone else?
Any more discussion? Trinity.
No. But I have personally witnessed students going to the crosswalk, not pressing the button, running across the street, just straight up, just completely with no regard to any cars coming by, especially going down that hill. They can be flying upwards of 35, 45 miles per hour.
If the main accidents on this road or near accidents on this road are because of students' ignorance, what is going to stop them from deciding to just use the road anyways or jaywalk instead of using the bridge? Because on a bridge, you still have to climb up, and some people are too lazy to do that. So.
Well, that's completely up to the students' choice, but personally, I would choose to use the bridge because A, it's cooler. I mean, you get a nice view from up there. And B, it's safer. If I want to run across, I'm going to run across a bridge instead of the road.
Jaden?
Following up on what Ms. Harmon said, I believe that while it won't make students use the bridge altogether, I do believe that it will cause less and less students to use the sidewalk as we may not be able to remove the amount of students using the sidewalk entirely, but decreasing the risk for having an incident is well worth it, in my opinion.
In order to build this bridge, are we going to have to close Chester Road? Because during the school year, I don't think that's something we can afford to do because we have so much traffic on Chester Road with all the students getting to school and how many students we have in the high school and middle school with that being the same building. So we'd have to build it during the summer months, which means the construction project would have to be over during the summer months.
Is there any more discussion? Trinity?
I'm curious if we can look into better ways of constructing, like if we could do like a modular construction, like they piece pieces together during the school months and then it's quicker during the summer.
Jaden?
Going off of what she said, maybe we could build a tunnel that would, go through the hills within the school district.
Trevor?
I think we're trying to spend a whole lot of money on a project that could be avoided if students would just wait for the light to stop and after they press the button and cross safely.
Do you think we will be able to get grants from the state of Ohio for the bridge?
That's a good question. Trinity?
I believe a grant entirely is possible. I would not necessarily know from who, but I believe the people of Sharonville have a common love for the students of Princeton, and everybody as a parent, well, not everybody, but most of the Sharonville residents are parents or grandparents, and Sharonville is really based around the Princeton community.
Any last comments? Trevor?
Should we move this conversation until we have more information about the financials and grants available for this project?
We can call for a vote. Roll call.
The ordinance? Nobody changed it, so just the ordinance itself.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes.
Oh. Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Mr. Ellerding?
Yes.
And Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Y'all just built a bridge. Oh, no.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were trying to say you wanted to table it? Okay. You can ask for a motion to table it too.
Oh,
if you
okay.
want. So you can go ahead and try that if you want. Is there a motion to table it?
Or a tunnel. I like the tunnel.
You want to do that? See if everybody. You can try it.
Is there a motion to table the ordinance? Jalen?
Motion to
Trevor.
table the ordinance.
Second by Trevor. Roll call.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Mr. Ellerding?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
You tabled it. That ordinance has been tabled.
Next is Student Government Ordinance 2023-02, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for design and construction of a sand volleyball court at Gower Park.
Is there a motion for ordinance 2023-02? Motion by Trevor and second by Trinity. Is there any discussions at this time? Jalen?
My biggest question with this ordinance is how popular was the sand volleyball courts before they were taken away? So in case we do end up implementing this bill, I don't want these courts to be put in just for not many people to use them. That'd be a waste of money. So my question is, how popular were these sand volleyball courts before the removal?
I believe they were largely popular. I remember playing on them a couple of times and always seeing other people playing on them, and the netting's already in place. We just need sand, so it's not just dirt and grass.
Trinity?
Today we discussed with, I'm so sorry,
Mr. Blogler.
yes, him, and we talked about the previous problems with the sand volleyball court and why it was removed. We had discussed that the sand that we were using, it was natural sand, so it attracted wildlife, cats, raccoons, using it as litter boxes. And so they had to remove the sand because it was just attracting too much wildlife. So if we were to implement a new sand volleyball court, we would have to use a specific type of sand used to deter wildlife, and that is more costly. So I was wondering how would we finance adding this fake sand?
I'm sure there's grants available for Gower Park through Hamilton County Parks, or we could get a grant from the state of Ohio because
Is there any other discussion? Jalen?
If we were to get this grant from Hamilton County or the state of Ohio, would they really find this issue important enough in order to grant us a grant for that?
well, you can always try. It doesn't hurt to try.
Trinity?
I wonder if it would be okay, I'm sorry. I wonder if it would be more clear if we raised the pricing of registration for the recreational center to fund the sand volleyball pit, because the people using the recreation center, it's near Gower Park. They're going to use Gower Park, and so that way, basically, the people that are using the materials can fund for this.
Jaden?
But with raising the registration of the rec center, would that not have an adverse effect on the people actually going to the rec center, seeing as they have to pay more for something they do, maybe on a daily, weekly basis? Would that not push some of them away from actually going to the rec center and buying memberships, which would in turn affect the amount of people that are playing on the sand volleyball courts?
I think that we should raise the price on people who are renting out the shelter houses, because they'll be the people who will use it the most because they're up there.
Is there any more discussion? Mayor? Urban?
Are we gonna work with the recreation center to create like nights where the sand volleyball court would be designated for maybe like a teen night, where it would be sand volleyball or adults, or just any kind of program up there? Or are we just gonna let whoever rents the shelter house, are we gonna let them have jurisdiction over it? Are we just gonna have it open to anybody at any time? Or what's the plan with if we do decide to pay for getting this new sand?
It would be open for public use most of the time, but if there is an event, it could be closed off for that private event.
Jaden?
Would there be other materials needed in updating the sand volleyball courts, or is all we need, or do all we need is just faux sand?
Trinity?
I believe the old court was just sand, but we could discuss like a way to close in that sand so it doesn't track.
Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll do roll call.
All right, Mr. Powell,
No.
Ms. Steele,
Yes.
Ms. Harmon,
No.
Mr. Ellerding,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Okay, 2023-02 passes. Student,
Due to my own personal sand volleyball ability, I'm actually going to veto this.
Okay. Now you have to say,
Is there a motion to override the mayor's veto? Motion by Trevor. Second by Trinity. Roll call.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Ms. Steele,
Yes.
Ms. Harmon,
No.
Mr. Ellerding,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Okay.
So the veto's been overridden.
The veto has been overruled, and the ordinance stands.
Resolution 2023-R01, a resolution requesting the federal government to institute regulations regarding railroad crossings and train length.
Is there a motion for resolution 2023 R01E? Motion by Jaden. Second by Trinity. Is there any discussion? Jaden.
I propose to make an amendment to this bill.
Okay.
I propose to make an amendment that would add a overhead bridge to railroad crossings in order to make them easier to pass.
Is there a second on the amendment? Seeing none, we will not amend the resolution. Is there any further discussion? Trinity?
Being somebody who is personally affected probably the most by the train length, because I live right next to the train tracks, I believe if we were to pass this resolution and discuss with the federal government, like how to shorten the train lengths so that they run less than 10 minutes, like stop traffic for less than 10 minutes while they're on the tracks, I think it would be very beneficial to the entire community.
Is there any further discussion? Jaden?
From what I recall earlier, sometimes trains would stop because one of the workers' shifts were over and so they had to rotate out. So I was wondering if that would interfere in any way with making trains only being able to stop for 10 minutes.
Trinity?
I believe that's a rare occasion that that the trains stop because of not enough workers and them reaching their maximum time. I believe the problem is the reason they stopped is because they're so long, and there's that the train switching. There was the Big Four, I think is what somebody called it, and that's where they switch around all the trains to make them carry what they need. And so I believe that's what the problem is, instead of workers maxing out their time on shift.
Is there any further discussion? Jaden?
Would decreasing the rail car length hurt the economy, seeing as not as many products and goods are able to be shipped from city to city or state to state as they were before this change?
Trinity?
I assume we'd see an influx in the amount of trains, because they can't carry as many on one. They're probably going to just give us more trains. But I lost where I was going with this. I'm sorry.
Jaden?
If we were to have more trains, would that not be counterintuitive and negating the entire purpose of this bill, seeing as we're trying to decrease the amount of time that we're stopped by trains, but if there's more trains on the railroad tracks, that just increases the it just increases the chance that we're likely to get stopped by one.
Trinity?
Sorry. I believe that I think the bigger problem here is not it. Yes, we will have a more amount of trains, but the length itself will be longer, and we have less risk of stopping for more than 45 minutes for one train to move more than 10 feet.
Mayor?
So the trains in Sharonville actually predate the roads. We learned that today, and so I feel like we don't necessarily need to go above the trains and go to the government to get this passed, because we don't want to strain our relationship with an economic benefit to us. That while it's annoying that it's blocking the track, we don't want to strain our relationship with them by going above them and causing them to do stuff that they obviously do not want to do. So I think we should move more towards alternatives, like making it more obvious the ways to get around the trains, easier to get around the trains, that sort of thing, instead of decreasing the train's length and rules for their trains.
Trinity?
I think ultimately businesses in Sharonville are more harmed by these trains stopping than they are. If we were to, yes, they are. Businesses around these trains are definitely suffering because of how long they take, and ultimately it would be better for us financially to instead of finding a way around the train, because there is really no way around, especially the one on Sharon Road. The train just runs into Kemper. Even if you were on the right side and you managed to get around it, you would hit the same train on Kemper. So I think ultimately, instead of warning, I think we should just get rid of the problem entirely.
Jalen?
How do we know that the train companies are gonna comply with us on this issue?
We don't, but this is just letting them know that we're not happy. Jalen?
So if we don't know that the train companies are going to comply with us on this issue, is this not just a waste of time debating?
That's a good point. Roll call.
Mr. Powell?
No.
Ms. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon,
Yes.
Mr. Ellerding,
No.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Resolution 2023 R01E has been approved.
There you go.
Are there any other matters to be heard before the council?
I would like something to be said. This is Mrs. Hoppy's last year as president of council and working student government day. So we would all like to thank her tremendously for all the hard work that she does for us. This is my second time doing it. I've had a great time. I think everyone here can say that they've had a great time. So this is a little something for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, they need to do that.
So I want to thank you all. Hopefully you had a wonderful day today. We enjoyed spending the evening with you last night. Parents, friends, hopefully you have enjoyed watching our leaders of today and future leaders of tomorrow. It is always also, this debate thing that you go through is also intriguing for us to hear, because all of these ideas you've batted around last night and today and that you've shared tonight are things that we deal with all the time around here, is things that residents bring to our attention and ways that we try to work through some of those things to make Sharonville a better place for everybody that lives here. So we thank you. It's interesting to hear what is on your minds as the young leaders of today and the future leaders of tomorrow. I think as I shared with you last night, some of us were in your seats several years ago doing just this. So you very well could be the next mayor of Sharonville or president of council or council members. So someday in your life. So thank you all very much. We have a very special presentation for each of you. So when we're going to go ahead and have you come down here and receive your certificates and line up in front, because we're going to get a nice picture of all of you with the rest of the council members as you do so. So how about Trevor Ellerding? Come on down, sir. Just so everyone is aware, their positions tonight were chosen at random by a draw. Mr. Mayor Matthew Hardman. Peyton Harmon. Joseph Howard. Jalen Powell. And Charlotte Martin. And Trinity Steele. All right, council, come on down here. Let's get pictures. Parents, you're welcome to come up, grab some pictures.
welcome to the real Sharonville City Council meeting. Our kids, our student government students did a fabulous job tonight, and I just want to say kudos to them. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If everyone would please stand, we're going to have a moment of silent prayer, and then Mr. Tankersley is going to lead us in the pledge. Thank you. You can all be seated. Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Coulter?
Here.
Mr. Lovett?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mrs. Knight? Here. And Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Approval of minutes from our October 10th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to that meeting? Seeing none, those stand as written and distributed. Reports of communication, Mayor Hartman.
Thank you. So for my first portion of my report, I'd like to call forward Chief Sunderman.
Chief Sunderman, who is...
Guest is not here yet.
Oh, well, we're going to hold off on that for a second. So I'm going to then call upon, I'm going to take Jim's report, because I know there's folks here on this one. So if our Community Resource Officer, Aaron Hayes, would come forward, he's going to share a little bit about this group of smiling faces over here.
They're all smiling because they know how much I enjoy standing in front of everybody. Getting a kick out of this, but I guess I just wanted to start off by thanking the city administration, city council, the mayor, chief of police, our leadership at the police department for allowing us to bring this program back to the community. I believe it's been 25 years since we last offered this, so it's long overdue, in my opinion. And it was great. It was super fun, and I know there's quite a few of them that are chomping at the bit to come up. So if it's okay with you all, if we have time, can we bring them up and introduce themselves? Would that be okay?
Not a problem.
Let's see if we can talk to you.
I feel like we should have a Citizens Police Academy government night. We could have them lead.
Yeah.
My name is Maggie Raffel. I've been a resident since 2010. I live on Sharonville Drive, and I would like to thank you guys for having us this evening. It's really appreciated. The class was probably one of the best examples of kind of civil use of resources that I have seen in my time as a resident here. So we had the opportunity to work with a lot of other police departments, a lot of other resources, to see everything that they do and the amount of work that our officers do. And it's actually really refreshing kind of example of what the citizen and government relationship can be. And the communication and the conversations that were started because of this class, there's a lot of room for that to expand. And I think it would be really interesting to see where this can go between a lot of other communities. I think Sharonville's kind of leading the charge on this, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for other communities to do something very similar.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joy Landry. I live up on 10504 Thornview Drive. I've been a citizen of Sharonville since I think about 1998, 1999. Want to echo a lot of what Aaron said. Thank the council, the police department for bringing this program. I learned so much. I hate to admit it, I was kind of naive. I thought our officers just had to kind of patrol and keep an eye on the schools for us, but to learn what they're up against sometimes from basically protecting Sharonville from criminal elements coming into our city makes me sleep a little bit better at night. I was very impressed with the technology that they use, the cooperation between, say, Hamilton County, Blue Ash, some of the other jurisdictions. But I guess the last thing I want to say is I hope all of you are really, really proud of this police department, because every representative was so professional, so knowledgeable, but so engaging, very human in the way that they conducted the classes, so patient. We had a ton of questions. We were a great group. And finally, I know this guy always defers credit to other folks, but Aaron really, really deserves a lot of credit for his leadership, his organization, putting this all together for us. So I'll stop talking. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name's Betsy Brothers, and I live on Wolfleet. I have been a resident of Sharonville for, ages, since about 1968. And I was so impressed with every one of these officers, every one of the administrative forces, the professionalism, their communication, absolutely everything about this program was so amazing to me. It was interesting, it was educational, it was interactive, and I just had a great time, and the people at the rec center are really tired of hearing about it. Thank you for allowing this, and I hope it can continue for a long time.
Great.
Good evening. My name is Scott Poor. I've been a resident of Sharonville since 2001. Live up in the Waterford subdivision, just up Cornell. I want to echo the sentiments put on by others. And I think, just look at this turnout. This is essentially the entire class. And this was a volunteer activity tonight to come here to say thank you. One of the things that stuck out to me, we had a class that dealt with the Communications Center, Hamilton County Communications Center. They came and gave us a presentation, and we got to hear some recorded phone calls of 911 calls, and we got to learn how to be a good citizen when making them. Little did I know how useful that would be, because on Thursday evening we learned about it. On Sunday morning at 7 a.m. I placed a call to 911 because of a medical emergency being experienced by my wife. Within 5 minutes, 2 patrol officers came through my front door, came upstairs to assess her situation, radioed it down to the paramedics who were parking the truck, and the fire department rolled up right after that, and off to the hospital they went. I got to see all of those city services helping my community, helping my family, and I learned about it just days earlier. So thank you for that. Thanks to Aaron and all the leadership, Chief, for putting this on. It was a fabulous program, and we hope to see it continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Don Potabom, and I've been a resident of Sharonville since 1972. I live on Thornview Drive. And I think this was a great opportunity to see the workings behind the scenes in the police department. And one of the best things I think we got out of it was to meet quite a few of your officers, and we were really impressed with them. This guy here did a great job of organizing our program and leading it, and it was definitely a beneficial experience for all of us.
Thank you.
Just have to get this in there regarding Mr. Potabom here. I was a little kid, grew up in Sharonville. Some of the best memories I have playing baseball in the Sharonville Youth Organization. He was one of my coaches, so.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's because of this program, so thanks.
Can I go?
Yeah.
One more. This is Kathy Pat. I live in the Tennyson subdivision. I've been there for about 2 or 3 years. I just moved in recently, but absolutely loved this program. I wish everybody could at least do 1 or 2 units just to understand the breadth and depth of training, knowledge, compassion. Like, they do it all, and they're being recorded. Like, how many of us could do our jobs and be totally recorded, everything we say and everything we say and do, and just have it up for scrutiny? I mean, these guys are amazing. Love the program. Please let it continue. Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Judy Maloney. I've lived in Sharonville since 1986. First on Thornview and now in Malaire, and I love the program. Aaron was the greatest, and I'm not going to go everything. Everybody said everything that's necessary, and I just hope it continues. I'm not here to
I'm Mary Tankersley, Thornview Drive.
been a resident since 1982. This was my actual second go-around with the Citizens Police Academy. I went to the very first one they had 25 years ago. So it was great to see it come back, and I was all over as soon as I saw it on Facebook. The interactive that was mentioned was active shooter simulations. We got to participate in that, got to shoot tasers. It was great. it was great. It was
Did she get to shoot the taser at Rob?
Rob was at home.
I was recuperating,
Oh, okay.
so I was shocked enough.
But Aaron did a great job, and everybody that had come in did a tremendous job.
Great.
I'm Kevin Kitty. I live on Robindale. One of the things that you won't see in the syllabus is the thing that I like the most, stories. All these guys have stories they tell on themselves and each other. Something like that really puts a human inside the uniform. That's something that you don't always get to see. And I really value the program for that. Thanks.
Thank you. They saved the best for last.
I'm the worst. John Curran. I'm from Waterford, and it was a great program. I'm a horrible speaker. But anyway, great program. There was something I was going to say, but I can't remember. Oh, y'all know Jack? Jack.
Yes, the dog. Yes.
Here's the star of the show.
Okay.
And
Jack always trumps everybody.
yeah. And then the drone. The drone, I'm an ex-airline pilot, so the use of the drone to do a lot of things, yeah, I'm all for it. And this program, and Aaron, thanks, Chief. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all for taking part in it.
Thank you all for coming in.
Yeah, appreciate you coming.
It's so great to hear that, and especially when we hear the kind of things that exist out there in the, unfortunately, I think we've been above it from a city of Sharonville standpoint, but when you hear about police and community relations and the things that are going on in our current atmosphere, it's great to hear from folks like you. It's great. It's why we offer these opportunities so that our citizens can get a chance to see what police actually do, how they do their jobs, how they serve and protect, because that's what they are here for. That's what third of our budget, third of the money that comes in the city of Sharonville goes to our police department, another third goes to our fire department, because we realize that those safety services are the most important job we have for the residents and the business community here. So we are glad that you've enjoyed the program. We're glad that you took something away from it. And I'm glad that we're able to show what a great police force that we have here in the city of Sharonville. So thank you all for coming and sharing that with us today. You want to mention Connor? What did I hear you say you wanted to mention Connor? Is that what? I know Connor, yeah. Go ahead. What did you want to add there, John?
Well, my son Connor has been named to the USD team. He's going to represent us all over the world this winter. He does aerials. And for a kid from Cincinnati, Sharonville.
Kid from Sharonville.
Yeah.
It's like we had Nick Gepper, and now we have Connor. We had Justin, was a kid that I recruited, won a gold medal in Beijing. So, yeah, little boy from Sharonville, you're going to watch him on NBC this year.
That's great.
Great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Connor. That's a good job.
He was also a Sharonville shark.
Yeah. All right.
He was also a shark.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Chief Sunderman has a presentation that he would like to make that to a young lady who I think we would all love the chance to congratulate. So, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Helena, would you like to come up and join me? And it's up to you if you want Mom to come up. Janie, you aren't going to get out of this.
Oh, how sweet.
I just noticed you brought your Dalmatian dog.
She takes it everywhere.
Awesome. I brought you the wrong piece of paper. I meant to bring an application. I'm sorry. Maybe in a couple of years. So, Mr. Mayor and members of council, I want to talk to you about Helena. We have called attention to several Princeton students over the days. We had the swim team here. We just had a lot of these great students from Government Day join us. I have another awesome Princeton student to share with you and a resident of Sharonville. On about September 5th, Helena's mom suffered a medical emergency. She was unable to talk for herself. So this young lady got on the phone and dialed 911 and handled herself just perfectly. She told the dispatcher exactly what was going on, knew all the right words, and can even be heard on the phone saying, I need to go outside now and show the paramedics where to come. She knew her address, she knew her telephone number, she knew what apartment they were in. And Helena, you might not think that's a big deal, but all these folks back here, we really count on that information so that we can get to people fast, and we really appreciate it. As a result of this, Helena was presented with the 911 Kids Hero Award from the Hamilton County Communications Center. And the way this works is certain calls make their way to a supervisor, and Hamilton County gets thousands and thousands of calls, 911 calls, in a week's time. And this dispatch went all the way up to a supervisor and was immediately recognized that we had a very special young lady on the phone who was able to take good care of Mom when she needed it. So with that, Helena, thank you. And I have an award for you, and it is our Sharonville Fire Department Young Hero Award. We're going to say hi to everybody.
All right, so I think it's been alluded to a little bit, and those of you, maybe some of you know, if you were here earlier, we had the pleasure of sponsoring our Student Government Day. I want to offer a great big amount of thanks, as those kids did, to Ms. Hoppy for the excellent job she does in organizing and putting that together. It is just a real treat to see these young people learn about our city and then have a chance to kind of debate issues. So tonight they debated a bridge over Chester Road. They debated sand volleyball at Gower Park and our terrains through the city of Sharonville and the issues that we have on them. So I think all of those are things we've probably heard at some point in time as elected officials of issues that address it. So even our young people know and understand some of the issues that are important to our community. So it's nice to hear from them. One of those things that we are dealing with that did not come up in that is the fact that one of our largest employers, Ford, is obviously in an issue and a dispute between their union and the company. So far, until a couple weeks ago, has left our transmission plant relatively unscathed. They have been in touch with us. Stephanie Fries, who is their government representative, I had the opportunity to speak to her earlier this week with regard to what is going on and the status of those negotiations. As of this week, they have laid off 660 hourly employees from the plant because of closures or strikes at other plants within Ford. So just to give you an idea of what that means, there's 1,600 hourly employees that work at our plant here in Sharonville. So that's a good chunk of them that are no longer working and no longer bringing in earnings tax to the city. We don't anticipate that's going to have an impact in the near term here as a city with regard to our 23 budget and our opportunities there. Obviously, depending on how long those strikes continue, we'll have continue to keep an eye on that and what that means. But I think, as we all know, as we've gone through our risk analysis and some of our good budgeting decisions, we know that we have a very diverse economic base to our employment here in the city. We'd hate to see those kind of things at one of our biggest employer, because obviously we want them to have good jobs. We want those folks that live here in Sharonville, that work for Ford, to have good jobs and good things to come back on and be able to support their families. And we want that company to do well. So we will wish them the best as they continue through their negotiations and hope that this is short-lived and that everybody can get back to work sooner rather than later, but that's just an update on where that comes from. Speaking of income and budgets, we expect that next week, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, next week, we expect to have all the budgets out to you, so with question and answers and things that we've heard, so that you'll have those in anticipation of our budget meeting coming up in November. We're still looking good, right, Scott? We're still looking good. So we have some recommendations, things that we've put together to share with you. And so we should have those budget books out to you and available to you next week for 2024. That is all I have.
Are there any questions for the mayor? Seeing none, we'll go to our Safety Service Director, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you. We have 10 pieces of legislation this evening. The first one, ordinance 2023-58, deals with our short-term rental provisions. And during our enforcement efforts related to short-term rentals, Airbnbs, Verbos, that type of thing, we realized our penalty provision was probably too weak of a deterrent to stop some of those. So in consulting with Casey, the current penalty provision was a minor misdemeanor with a fine of up to $100. Casey recommended a first-degree misdemeanor with a fine on the first occurrence of $100, and then staggered up to a $500 penalty. First-degree misdemeanors also have the potential for jail time, even though we don't think our magistrate would ever go in that direction. But I don't know, Casey, if you have anything to add to that.
Unless anybody has any questions.
Anyone have questions? Thank you.
Ordinance 2023-59, as well as the last three, 69E, 70E, and 15E. Chief Sunderman is here to talk about those four. First one being the surplus ordinance, Dan, which we do have an amended version at your table or at your seats this evening that Dan will talk about in a second.
So in the disposal ordinance, we're asking to dispose of a hydrant service truck that is no longer used, and the fact that Hamilton County Engineer's Office now services our fire hydrants, a mower that is in disrepair. And the change that Mr. Lucas was speaking of is we originally had asked for disposal of a 19-foot trailer. I have since found out that the Hamilton County EMA is in need of such a trailer. We've been in discussions with them, and I will be working on some proposed legislation and bring that to the next law committee to see if we can donate that to the Hamilton County EMA. If we're able to make that donation, that it would be a mass evacuation trailer. It would live right up the street from us at their new facility in Springdale, and then obviously we would have access to it, so there would be some benefit for us there. And that's about all I have on the disposal legislation. Just want me to keep going, Mr. Lucas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 2029E, or 2369E, this is for us to apply for a grant through the Ohio Bureau of Workmen's Comp for new stair chairs that are battery operated. Those of you that were at Government Day now know what stair chairs are. You saw them firsthand, and if we do receive this grant, we would need appropriations to pay for approximately the $13,000 of the total bill of $58,000. And we did not put this as a request in our 2024 budget, and the fact that if we do not receive this grant this year, we will go back after it in 2024. It will come up again next year. The next grant that we are applying for is through the State Fire Marshal's Office, and this is a grant to pay for $3,000 per radio, and the radios cost about $64,000 in our portable radio replacement. And again, if that grant were awarded, and if our 24 budget request was upheld, we could essentially take what was a 5-year radio replacement project and make it 4 years. And then the last one, 2023 R15E, that is asking you all to accept our 2023 multi-hazard mitigation plan that has been filed with the Hamilton County EMA. In your packet, I think there's a very small summary of 6 pages, the Sharonville part of your plan, and there's a website if you are so inclined to go read 1,077 pages. But it is a countywide plan that filters, obviously, in part of Sharonville, has been accepted by the commissioners in Hamilton County, and then the request is that each municipality within the county then do a resolution to accept that mitigation plan.
Are there any questions on any of this? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Steve Bosom's here tonight to talk about 2023 64E and 65E.
Good evening. Ordinance 2023-64E is authorizing Safety Service Director to enter into a contract to install poles to mount the train crossing detection system that we have discussed throughout this year. This comes to you because the quote came in just over $25,000. It's within the previous appropriations for this project, so the budget number has not changed, but it is a separate contract for this project. So it's just being brought before you because it's over that $25,000 threshold. There would be 4 poles installed at different locations, and the 5th location can use one of our existing traffic signal poles. 2023-65E is authorizing Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for the repaving of the upper parking lot at the community center. We're well underway with the new concrete entrance, which is looking very good, in my opinion, up there. It actually is open to the public as of this week. Not finished yet. We have finished construction with the public using that entrance again, which Michael Blomer and the rest of the rec staff are happy about being able to use their main entrance again. This would repave the asphalt portion of that parking lot. It was in our 2023 budget, but again, being over, and it will fall under the $75,000 direct award threshold. but it is over the $25,000 limit, so I'm asking your permission to sign that to allow Jim to sign that contract. This would go basically from the bottom of the hill at the stop sign at the lower lot up and the entire upper lot down to Creek Road. Any questions?
No, great.
Thank you.
And it does look very nice.
Yeah.
We were there tonight.
It turned out really nice.
Yeah.
John Creech is here to talk about the next two ordinances, both related to the Safe Routes to School program.
Good evening, City Council. These two ordinances, 66E and 67E, these are two pieces of legislation that are required by City Execute to partner with the Ohio Department of Transportation to implement the Safe Routes to School program that's scheduled for next year. The two ordinances, one is to participate in the project. That's the first one. The second one is for Safety Service Director to sign the actual ODOT agreement. And there are attachments to both of the cover memos. So just going back to January of 2020, that's when City Council approved the Safe Routes to School plan. We used that plan to apply. It was a requirement. We applied to the Ohio Department of Transportation for a Safe Routes to School grant. It was awarded in 2021, $264,000. That was for improvements abutting to the public roads abutting Sharonville Elementary as well as Evendale Elementary. So that was a federally funded project, so it's been going through the design development process for the past couple years. So right now it's at the very end. So it started back in 2021. And I know we've talked about a couple of times since then about what the project is and exactly where it is. And it's actually described pretty well in section 1 of that first ordinance. But I'll go ahead and read that just so everyone knows. So the actual projects near Sharonville Elementary, your pedestrian and safety improvements at the intersection of Creek Road, Beakley Woods, installation of ADA compliant curb ramps, relocation of the sidewalk on the east side of Beakley Woods, installation of high visibility crosswalks, new signage. There'll be pedestrian activated flashing beacons at that crossing and digital feedback signs so drivers passing by will be able to see the speed they're going. Basically an increased safety along that corridor. At Cornell and Maple, there'll be the installation of the ADA compliant curb ramps as well, high visibility crosswalks, again flashing stop signs, and school zone pavement markings and signage. And at Evendale Elementary, and this is really at the intersection of Thornview and Robindale, there'll be the same basic improvements, ADA curb ramps, crosswalk signage, and new pavement in certain areas. Again, this project is scheduled for construction 2024, so it's an ODOT-led project. They will do all the advertising, the bidding, award the contract, administer the project, and do all the inspections. And asking for approval of these two ordinances as an emergency so we can get it to their office by November 6th.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
And Scott's here to talk about the last ordinance.
Good evening. We can finally talk about something fun this evening, like appropriations and fund accounting. So, Ordinance 2023-68, we have a few appropriation items here. A couple of tweaks in our TIFs, a little rounding issue with the Gateway 75 TIF to kind of bring that down to what actual revenue was. The downtown TIF has done better than expected. Therefore, we owe more money than we expected to Princeton and Great Oaks. So we need some appropriations to pass to remit those their portion of that on. And the downtown TIF has kind of done well, better and better over the last decade. So when we do get to do the next phase of a downtown improvement, we will have some resources available besides other city resources to kind of put towards that. So a little bit of a coupon. The anchor properties TIF, this is the Hamilton County portion. That has for the first time, has generated payments in lieu of taxes, pilot. So we need to establish that fund, the 450 anchor properties TIF, Hamilton County, and we're appropriating those dollars because that's a 10-year, 75% TIF. That does not require sharing with the school district. We'll be remitting those resources on to the developer. Then there is also an appropriation and an advance related to the Safe Routes to School grant that John was just mentioning. We have to go ahead and secure the right-of-way associated with that project. It's not a lot, but there is some right-of-way acquisition and a lot of right-of-way acquisition services associated with that. So despite it being an ODOT let or ODOT bid and managed project, they require us as a local entity to secure the right-of-way, which is sometimes is the hard part. And so this will provide the resources to do that. We will have to seek reimbursement from ODOT's cumbersome reimbursement process.
Great. Any
Any
questions? No, thank you very much.
That's all the legislation.
Thank you. For my report this evening, I just want to say thank you to all of our department heads. We had a great day with you today, and I really appreciate it. I don't know if many of you were in here, but you were quoted during their banter. So it was really fun to hear that they used your verbiage, especially like Mr. Creech. They knew exactly what to say, and I saw you shaking your head saying, yeah, I told them that. So it was kind of fun to watch that. So thank you very much. I think they did learn a little bit about our city, and I think they had a good time doing it. So thank you. Thank you for Police Department for hosting us today for our lunch. That was fabulous, worked out great. The kids did like getting locked up, again, as usual. The fire department, they loved watching and seeing all that there was to see there. I think they were wanting to climb the ladder, but I had to explain to them, no, you don't. No, you don't. So thank you all very much. I do appreciate that. And I want to say special thank you to Mr. Coulter, who was my ride or die today. He was right there and drove kids and helped me bring in food and take care of everything. So thank you very much. And Mrs. Buhite, who did all the printing and all the organization. So thank you. And that's my report. We'll move on to our Clerk of Council, Mrs. Buhite.
Thanks. I just wanted to mention the budget work session that was mentioned is November 9th, correct? Starting at 5 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, that's the budget work session. And then the last two council meetings for 2023 are November 14th and December 12th.
Thank you. Auditor, Mr. Cunningham.
Good evening. I also want to commend the students that participated in Government Day. They did an outstanding job. What I like most is that on a few occasions they mentioned how are we going to fund that.
Yes.
There's been years in the past where we're just building bridges.
Yeah.
And this time we stopped that, and so I thought that was pretty cool. It's nice to know that our kids know that we can't just willy-nilly spend money, which certainly we know that here, and we're certainly not doing that. We are 75% away through the year, and we've only spent about 65% of our budget. So that tells you that we're spending less than what we budgeted to spend, which is a very good thing. I won't steal Mr. Irie's thunder, but we're also bringing in a little bit more than what we have budgeted. So we're creating that gap, which is kind of nice when you don't know what Ford is going to do.
Right.
So in turn, we're building a little bit of a general fund. We've got quite the excess right now, which we're in a good spot. I feel good about that. I feel like we should have that at this point in time. So those are all good things. Sometimes you deal with things that are unforeseen, but you deal with those things before you see them, and that's what we did. So I appreciate it. That's my report.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll go to our treasurer, Mr. Irie.
Thank you. And the tax report is on file with Ms. Buhite through September 30th, 2023. Just wanted to report that the month-to-date receipts for the general fund were at $2,111,842.98. The motel tax receipts for the month of September were $46,080.84. So year-to-date on the income tax receipts, we're actually just slightly behind where we were last year, down 0.8%, and motel tax receipts year-to-date are up 9.2%. We are keeping pace or doing better than we were last year, which, again, bodes well going into budget season, so.
Perfect,
All right,
thank you.
thanks.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to our law director, and by the way, thank you for all your hard work too, also.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be brief. In the last budget cycle up in Columbus, the legislature finally caught up to the 1990s and allowed for internet publication of our ordinances and resolutions as opposed to newspaper publication. So going along with those changes in the Ohio Revised Code, they mandate that the notices be published in a certain way by the clerk of council, which Terry has been very on top of. She's doing a really good job with that. It also allows for council to designate another place for residents to be able to pick up the summaries of the ordinances. So we talked about this at Law Committee, and my recommendation was that it's already being published on the internet now. I'm sure that if anybody reached out to Mrs. Buhite, if anybody reached out to the various members of council, the elected officials, no one would be at a loss to be able to get a copy of an ordinance or resolution that was coming up for a vote. So I don't think there needs to be another designated place. And after discussion, that was the general consensus of the members of Law Committee as well. But after a brief discussion with Mr. Lucas, I said that I would make an announcement that if some of the members of council who are not on Law Committee feel very strongly about this, please reach out to Mr. Lucas and ask that it be added to the Law Committee agenda and come make your pitch. So that's all I have, unless somebody has any questions for me.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. This is an opportunity for residents that wish to be heard this evening. If you want to come on up and give us your name and your address, please. Although I think we all know you. Come on up.
My name is Mike Donnelly. I live on Creek Road in Cincinnati. I've been a family resident of Sharonville since 1953. Probably not following correct parliamentary procedures, but I'd like to submit a proposal for consideration by council on a safety subject. It's been good to hear all of the safety reports today and this evening, and I'm glad to hear that there's a lot of activity going on residentially and with our safety council. I have a piece of paper that summarizes my suggestion for proposal, and I'd like to just pass it around. I don't know if I'd be happy to go over it with you. Sorry about the small print. I wanted to put it on the page.
That's fine.
So put on your glasses.
That's okay. Give you mine if you need it. You can go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. This is, I'm submitting a proposal for consideration for adding 2 speed bumps on Creek Road between Mefford Lane and the 3 stop signs at LJ and Creek Roads. I'm submitting this on today, and the proposal is I respectfully submit to council consideration the installation of 2 speed bumps on Creek Road between Mefford Lane and LJ Road. Specifically, 1 bump across Creek at 4011 Creek Road, directly in line with the no parking sign on the east side, approximately 20 to 25 yards from the stop sign heading south on Creek, and another one at 3967 Creek Road. Those were arbitrarily chosen. The conditions and the reason for this. Creek Road is a 25-mile-per-hour speed zone from top to bottom. Speed signs do exist. In this specific area, it is a 3-lane road with heavy, continuous parking on the west side of the street, especially between these 2 side entrance roads. Very little police presence tours this area for speeders. Several families with young, middle, and high school age children reside in this area. It is a heavily traveled throughout the day, but specifically heavy traffic from 6:30 to 9:30 a.m. and 3:45 to 6:30 p.m. Many trucks and even some semis meander down creek from the south. My unscientific observational survey done at periodic times shows 3 vehicle stop efforts at the stop sign at Creek and LJ. Number 1, some vehicles come to a full stop approximately 75% of the time. Approximately 20% roll through the stop sign, and approximately 10% ignore the stop sign altogether. Again, through unscientific observation, the average speeds through this area is between 35 and 45 miles per hour. This includes autos, pickup trucks, motorcycles, grass-cutting trucks, large box trucks, and semis. Speeds increase immediately heading north, rounding the bend after an auto's rudimentary stop at Creek and LJ heading north. That's down the hill. Heading south, beginning around the church entrance, speeds again increase as they head up the street, approaching the southbound stop sign at LJ. Adding speed bumps purpose. Adding speed bumps will reduce the speed in this area considerably, and it will force drivers to slow down and more consciously recognize the existing stop sign. The negatives that I can think of is that my observation here is that snowplow equipment would be damaged, potentially, a realistic possibility. My observation here, again, is that our snow equipment moves pretty fast around the bends as is. I'd suggest they be made aware of where the bumps are, slow down as they approach them, lift their forks to adjust, go over and resume their cleansing. Hundreds of speed bumps exist in the county, and other municipalities seem to adjust without undue damage. Emergency equipment will also have to be made aware of these bumps and act accordingly. So again, I'm merely submitting this as consideration for council's thoughts.
Okay.
So nothing other than that.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Mayor?
Sorry, did somebody?
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly, for the information. So I did grow up on Creek and LJ, 4021. Yes, I see growing up, a lot of cars just roll through both stop signs, certainly coming up the hill, missing the stop sign completely because it's off to the right. A couple suggestions I know people in my ward have requested before is to work it with Mr. Nesbitt. There is surveillance they can put out there for a week. They'll get speed of every car, time of day, and then you'll have some great statistical data. The other thing is sometimes we've got the signs that'll flash and the speed also to help control that. So I'm sure Chief Nesbitt would love to offer those up if available.
Which
so
recently put up.
Oh, good. Perfect. Thank you.
There.
All right. So I would suggest working it with Chief Nesbitt after this meeting.
I think an official study would be highly appropriate.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor.
But
Yeah, so Mike, and I appreciate what you're sharing with us and putting it together. I will say this, that you're not the first one that has come to us with these kind of requests, and it's not just your street, but other streets. And with, if we were to put speed bumps in everywhere that somebody wants speed bumps, we'd have a city that's every street would basically have a speed bump on it. So, and you're right. I mean, you address some of the negatives that have kind of kept us away from doing it, because it is some concerns. And it actually, there's not just us locally, but nationally, a lot of municipalities are getting away from speed bumps and trying to find other ways to calm issues like the ones that you're addressing. What I'm very proud of is one of the ways we're doing that is to try to get some more police presence within your neighborhood, because that's a big thing that we hear as I never see a police officer. You know, these people are driving 45 miles, 50 miles per hour down 25 mile per hour streets. That's the biggest concern, right? And I've witnessed it. I'll walk around the neighborhood and watch people drive right through stop signs or, go flying down our residential streets. So we, as a council, approved 3 new police officers in our 2023 budget, and that will be ongoing. That is specifically targeted to a traffic safety unit. So that is what those 3 officers are meant to do, is to try to deal with issues like this, calming some of those issues within our residential streets, allowing our officers to kind of deal with other issues while they deal with some of these traffic issues, hopefully getting them back out there. Now, it's one thing to fund them, it's another thing to get the bodies into those positions. So I know we're not fully there yet, Chief. How close are we to getting those 3 new bodies in and getting this unit up and running?
We hope with this recent hiring that we can get them all filled up. We have one that's in training now, and we hope to be able to put him out in the field soon. And we have the equipment lined up, so we hope to be there.
And Mr. Cook also talked on some of the other things we do. I mean, those targeted enforcement kind of areas, those targeted, even if it's just putting up the mechanical sign so people can see, because people pay attention to those things when they say, oh, you're going 45. A lot of people will slow down just because they see that stuff there. And plus, it also allows us to collect data. So I don't want to lie and sit here and say, yep, we're going to put speed humps in, because it's probably unlikely we're going to do that. Because I don't think it's the right direction that we need to head as a city. And like I said, once we start doing it one place, the other folks that wanted it on Sharonville, who wanted it on over in Ward 2, I'm trying to think of the name of the street, Wilma, or those streets there that use it as a cut through to get from one area to the next. The folks on Thornview who want additional, we end up with a city that is full of nothing but speed humps. And that might slow everybody down to 15 miles per hour everywhere we go, but I don't think that's what we really want either. But give us some time, because we know these issues are out there. We're trying to address them. Let's get this police force fully get this safety unit implemented. Hopefully you guys will see some more police vehicles in your neighborhood addressing some of these run, stop signs, speed limits. Hopefully it'll start encouraging people to realize that we don't mess around in Sharonville, that we care about our residents and we care about our residential areas, and you can't drive like a maniac through them. And a stop sign is not a suggestion. So I'm glad I'm glad to see 70% of the people are coming to a full stop, because I don't know if I could say that in my own unscientific observations. That seems like a pretty high number for the number of people that are actually coming to a full stop. So I'm glad to see that. Let's get that to 100% or very close to it. And I think we're on the right track toward getting there. But I appreciate you sharing with us your concerns.
Well, I appreciate you listening to me and taking into consideration, and I do think an official observation practice would be worthwhile. The amount of traffic has increased over the last 10 years on that road considerably. It includes some semis as well, which I don't think they're allowed to travel down.
Yeah.
So we're aware of that as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, it'll be great day. It'll give you every speed above, say 35, 40, 45 plus and below.
Well, I don't have a lot to do, so I'll be glad to help.
Outstanding.
Can we just give him a ticket book?
Chief, can you get him a pen and a pad of paper? Thank you.
All I need.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Lippert.
Mr. Donnelly, thank you for being here. As part of my responsibilities as law director, I prosecute in the Sharonville Mayor's Court. And so what my predecessor saw and shared with me and what I see in Mayor's Court is when individuals ask for targeted enforcement in their neighborhood, invariably the neighbors are some of the people who get cited or busted as well. That's
true.
So you're good at that. Fair enough. Enough said. Thank you, sir.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to say you probably have a good idea and could knock on a couple doors.
That'll be an issue.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Vicki,
Yeah, Mr. Tankersley.
Mike, good note here, and I know we've talked about this also over the years, and I know that there's one of your neighbors whose work truck has been hit numerous times by, he was actually supposed to come and bring up this same thing with you without him knowing you was going to be here. The one thing I made a comment to Mo to was maybe get in touch with Steve. It seems like a lot of the semis and big trucks are coming out of up here in Blue Ash off of Indeco and things like that, mainly coming out of there. Maybe Steve can talk to somebody in Blue Ash to see if it's possible to have a, no right turn, big truck sign put right there at the corner of Indeco and Creek. Maybe that'll help eliminate some of the big truck traffic.
Going around the bend at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, so. Okay. Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Mr. Schmidt?
A quick note that part of the data that we used on the safe route to schools, the amount of traffic on Creek Road was really surprising, and the times is really amazing. I also noticed very recently in the mornings and at times there's an increased police presence going down Thornview between Concerto and Creek Road and between Thornview and really Main Street, Sharon Road. The police have been there on a very regular basis in the early morning hours. So I think we are beginning to feel that presence, and it's much appreciated. And especially in these dark mornings, because you absolutely cannot see the police officer. So,
right there as well.
so it's very helpful, and it's much appreciated, Chief.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mike. We do appreciate it. Is there anybody else that wishes to be heard this evening? Come on up. Hi.
Hello, I'm Tina Reilly, the Senior Branch Manager of the Sharonville Branch Library, and we will reopen regular hours on Monday, November 6th. So I understand there were some questions around our reopening since we do serve as a polling location. And please know that very early on in our planning, we were very aware of Election Day coming up, so we intentionally started work on that part of the building very early on in our project. So at least if we weren't able to reopen the entire building, we would still open the meeting room for Election Day. But regardless, we will have our regular hours beginning Monday, November 6th. It's sort of a soft opening so we can get in the building and finish some projects and kind of work out some kinks and settle in a bit, and then we'll have a grand reopening celebration within a week or two after that date. So once that's final and ready to be released, I'll share that information with you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Exciting. Anyone else this evening? You good, Mr. Schmidt? Nope. All right. All right. All right. We'll go on to our council committees. Community Development, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, the next meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals will take place at 6:30 on November the 8th, and it'll be followed immediately by the meeting of the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Community Services, Mr. Lovett.
Thank you. Our next Community Services meeting is on November 1st at 4 p.m. in the Administrative Conference Room. Thank you.
Thanks. Budget, Finance, and Project Oversight, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. I gave my report out, and Mrs. Buhite has my report on file. There is no report for Budget and Finance, no report for Project Oversight, but I will state that our next Project Oversight meeting will be December 12th at 6 p.m. in the Administrative Conference Room. Thank you.
Thank you. Honored Citizens, Mrs. Knight.
Yes, I also would like to honor all our students who participated in this Student Government Day. I did have a lot of fun the brief time I was here, but it makes me feel proud to know Sharonville's future is in good hands.
Thank you. That was very sweet. Law and Public Safety? Mr.
Yes, thank you. The next Law and Public Safety Committee meeting will be November 7th. That's Election Day. And we've done this in the past. We continue to have the Law and Safety Committee meeting on that day also. So that should be fine. And then the Budget Committee, the budget meeting is the 9th, 2 days later. And just a quick note to Tina, both Mr. Tankersley and I have been asked about where to vote, and especially in Ward 3 and in Ward 4 and Ward 1. And so I'm very glad to hear that from you. We've been telling him we thought it was okay, but we had no real assurances. But thank you very much for coming tonight.
Perfect. Rule suspension motion for first and only reading with immediate effectivity for ordinances 2023-64E, 2023-65E, 2023-66E, 2023-67E, 2023-68, 2023-69E, 2023-70E, and Resolution 2023-R-15E. Is there a motion for rule suspension? So moved by Mr. Coulter, second by Mr. Wilson. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, and that does carry. Unfinished business, please.
Okay. Third reading of emergency ordinance 2023-58, amending the penalty for short-term rental violations.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2023-58? So moved by Mr. Lovett, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2023-58 has been approved. The amended version of ordinance 2023-59, did we?
We did not. Is there a motion to amend ordinance 2023-59? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Lovett. Is there any discussion on this? Roll call for the amendment.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Okay. And a motion to pass the amendment?
Motion, yeah, yes.
Do I
Is there
hear
a
you?
mo-
Okay.
Do you want to, did you already read it?
No, was that a motion to amend it, or is
That
that
was
a
just
motion
the
to?
motion to amend it.
Okay.
So now we need a motion to go ahead and, do you want to read it first?
Oh, yeah.
Amended?
Okay, sure, that would work. Ordinance 2023-59, authorizing the disposal of surplus equipment.
Perfect. Okay, is there a motion to pass the amended ordinance 2023-59? So moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mr. Coulter. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-59 has been approved.
And we'll move on to new business.
All right. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2023-64E, authorizing the safety service director to enter into a contract to install utility poles and sensors for the train crossing detection system and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2023-64E? So moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Lovett. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2023-64 has been approved. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2023-65E, authorizing the safety service director to enter into a contract for the repaving of the upper parking lot at the community center and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2023-65E? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Wilson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2023-65E has been approved. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2023-66E, ordinance authorizing preliminary legislation, participatory as required by the Ohio Department of Transportation to participate in the Sharonville Safe Routes to School 21 project with ODOT, PID number 115447, County Route Section Sharonville, SRTS 21, agreement number 38223, and declaring an emergency.
I think they did you wrong on the stage. Sorry, Case Kipper, but come on.
It's fine.
I don't make up these titles.
That was a lot. Good girl.
Yeah, that did make no sense.
Very good job. Is there a motion to pass? And I'm not going to say all that, but ordinance 2023-66E. So moved by Mr. Lovett, second by Mr. Cook. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Wait,
Oh, wait.
just a real quick note that prior to this safe route to school, there were a number of people who came to the law committee requesting us to do something about the crosswalks. And this kind of all came together with this opportunity for the grant, and we proceeded on that. So it was really a good, shall we say, pathway to get this done. It's responding to the citizens with an opportunity for a grant. So thank you very much, Chief, for all your work.
Me? Okay. Mr. Tankersley?
Yeah.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Sorry, I was reading the title still. I couldn't figure that out. Emergency Ordinance 2023-66E has been approved. First and only reading of Emergency Ordinance 2023-67E, ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a federal Ohio Department of Transportation ODOT LET project agreement with ODOT and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2023-67E? So moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency Ordinance 2023-67E has been approved. First and only reading of Ordinance 2023-68, amending 2023 appropriations for various funds and establishing funds.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2023-68? So moved by Mr. Schmidt, second by Mr. Lovett. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-68 has been approved. First and only reading of Emergency Ordinance 2023-69E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to submit an application to the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2023-69E? So moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency Ordinance 2023-69E has been approved. Ow. Okay. All right. First and only reading of Emergency Ordinance 2023-70E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to submit an application to the Ohio State Fire Marshal and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2023-70E? So moved by Mr. Schmidt, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency Ordinance 2023-70E has been approved. First and only reading of Resolution 2023-R15E, resolution adopting the Hamilton County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass resolution 2023-R15E? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Wilson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-R15E has been approved. Sure.
It's another opportunity for residents that wish to be heard this evening. Are there any other matters? Oh, Lord, I couldn't even get it out. Their hands are raising. Let's go, ladies first. Mrs. Knight.
I just want to thank Chief Sunderman and all the firemen because the open house on Saturday was amazing. They had great food. I mean, I did make chili. But they had this blow-up house, but it wasn't a bouncy house. It was to teach kids how to go through in the kitchen, in the bedroom, how to crawl under smoke. It was awesome. I think they borrowed it from Springdale, but it was awesome. We took my 2-year-old grandson, and he had a ball. So just tell all the guys thank you. It was awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I do want to give a shout out, Mr. Donnelly. I thought of something else growing up on the corner of Creek and LJ. As you come up the hill, the stop sign on LJ is off to the right. It's hard to see. Well, we had a lot of accidents. One actually hit the house. one totaled my brother's car. But at the time, Councilwoman Ivy Taylor, right, got a guardrail. See, there's that little shrub, that hedge there? There's a guardrail in there. So if you think you're hitting a shrub, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. The other thing that Ivy Taylor did also was there are only street lights every other pole. There was no street light on that corner pole, and she got one there, which was a big effort. So shout out to a former council member, and shows you what they can do. And so when you go up there, look for 3 lights in a row. Thank you.
I might mention, if I may, back in 1965, we were required to do a project in driver's ed class. And the project that I chose was the hill that ran up creek and then moved up to the left of the creek.
Yep.
That was a very large hill at one point in time. And I sat on that hill for several weeks, probably not several weeks, a couple days, and documented the travel and the difficulty in seeing the traffic that came up creek as well as going down Plainfield. And they reduced that hill. Now, even though it was private property, we got private property reduced. So that does help a little bit. Address this.
I was just going to say also, thanking the chief for the open house. It was really very nice. One of the things that I enjoyed most was seeing the 1941 fire truck there, and it was in remarkably good shape for its age. And the MAC ornament on the hood was still intact, so it was great to see that. And I don't know, I look forward to what you're going to do with it and how you're going to refurbish it for exhibit or whatever you would like to do. But again, thank you for the open house, and thank you for thinking of Sharonville's history, because it was wonderful to see that old fire truck with Sharonville on the hood from all those years ago. So thanks, Chief.
Yes, thank you. There's a shortage of winter coats at the Princeton Closet, and they currently do not have enough to fill the request that they currently have. So if you could help with that, please do. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Mr. Takersley.
One last thing, Chief, I was hoping to say something whenever Aaron was still here. I had some neighbors in the Citizens Police Academy, and along with my wife, and they really, really enjoyed the atmosphere, what the officers did, and everything else like that. You know, back in our time, we did not have the technology that we do today. And whenever my wife was telling me, you know, some of the things that they were shown, goes to show what we had 30 years ago compared to what there is today. So I am proud of our police department, and, you know, with the technology that is out there today, everybody learning it, and all the agreements with the flock cameras and things like that, we can only get better. So I wanted to say, hopefully you can redo the program again. And the only comment that I heard from Paul, I guess I would call Don your uncle-in-law, Uncle Don. He made a comment that live shooting maybe somewhere down the road would be fun. And I said, I don't think the city would take the responsibility, but I'll bring it. So that's all I had to say. But again, thank you very much to Aaron and your crew.
Anyone else? Mayor.
So I just want to take a minute to thank Anna and Bethany. Since the last time we were here,
yes.
we had 2 excellently well-attended programs down at our new Depot Square, just inviting families down there. It was amazing and great to see the number of families that showed up to watch magic tricks and to watch Charlie Brown and eat s'mores, and to watch the families covering the steps, the new steps area as they did so, and seeing all the Dora beverages that were floating around on the square as a result as well. So kudos to all of you for approving the funding to do that. It really is paying off. The next big event is our holiday event, December 9th. So looking forward. Yeah, so looking forward to that as we show off why we are one of the best hometowns in the state of Ohio. So it's great. We continue on this path. We're looking at, as part of your budget for '24 is to start the southern portion of the loop. So, we'll get the creek, new bridge fixed, and then we'll close some streets again. But it's all for a good cause. It all comes to an end at some point, but it's great to see that's the reason why we do this, right? Is we want to create a place where our community can come and gather, and I think you've been successful in doing that, and we've seen some early successes as a result. So thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Bethany, for your hard work.
Anyone else? Mr. Wilson, where did they take those coats? Just,
Well, the principal closet is in the bus garage. If you're not familiar with that, if you bring them to me, I'll make sure that they get there.
Okay.
But anything would be appreciated, and they need those coats sizes for students that are K through 12. So pretty much all sizes are in
okay,
need.
perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you all again for helping me and participating in Student Government Day. I always love that. It's always fun. Is there a motion for adjournment? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, because he's here. Second by Mr. Lovett. Is there any discussion on leaving us?
You're going to miss all that at
All
the
those
end of the
in
meeting.
favor,
Yeah.
yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no?
Trying to make her cry.
No, I'm not going to miss it. Go.